Hey, Wade with Trade ATS here. Welcome to a new week. So if you've been following us, you know each and every week I bring you trading recommendations in different markets that we're looking at. But this week I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm actually going to take you through my process of how I qualify opportunities. So I'm going to go and scan some markets and talk through my thought process, tell you what I see, and we'll narrow it down to a few picks. And yeah, you get to see that process. So let's get into it. All right. So the first thing I'm going to start off by saying is that I stay away from all the exotics. I'm not saying you have to, but I don't trade them. I don't care about them. I pretty much stick to just major Forex pairs. We'll look at some indexes, precious metals, and oil, but outside of that, it's just major Forex pairs. So that's typically what I stay to. I pretty much start off by looking over here. A lot of the majors are all stacked up on the market watch window here on MetaTrader 4, and just basically start dragging things over. My setup is usually a daily into a weekly. This is where I scout for the higher time frame swings. The opportunities that I'm bringing you guys and that I typically like to look for are things that I think can play out between Monday and Tuesday through Friday. Like to be flat for the weekend if we could help it. So I like to find things that look like they have a good potential to swing during the week, 50, 100, 200 pips. So that's kind of, I'm just trying to get that sense as I scan through things. If I see something that looks interesting on the daily and the weekly, then I'll drill down to the 30-minute, 4-hour. I'll look at the lower time frames, but it all pretty much starts right here. So I got daily, weekly. I got on euro dollar. We'll revisit that, but I'm just going to start here at the top, Aussie franc, and see, do I see anything that's noteworthy here? I don't see anything that's super noteworthy on this one. I see that we have a weekly candle going blue. I can see we're just getting through ATS trend. We might have a reversal here, but that's pretty fresh. I like to see a new dot confirm. So nothing compelling here to really do anything with that I'm seeing at the moment. So next, go to Aussie yen. Let's jump over here. Okay, this one's a little more interesting. I know that Aussie yen was one that we had looked at, and this is one that I still think is potentially fulfilling. We look at the monthly chart over here. We're looking at how we are holding on this value point. This is one that I'm still definitely considering because I think we're going to pop off on the daily. But I did, when I put this one out, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, I forget, when I actually did the video on it. But I did expect that it would carry out over the next few weeks to few months. So it's still setting up. It's actually looking like it's rotating. First stop is to get back to this level right here and pop off through that up to, we have order block projection up here, up through liquidity. But basically what we're looking for is to pop off on the monthly, get through this high. And anything past that, it's pretty much knocking it out of the park. So this one we definitely want to watch. If you want to see the details of that, you could go revisit my previous video where I walk through it. Let's go ahead and move to next. I'm not going to mess with the AUD SGD, too exotic for me. Aussie NZD, we'll mess with that. Let's take a look. Okay, this one, Aussie pair, looks like it is kind of getting to similar territory on the monthly chart where we're kind of breaking up through this level here. So that's interesting, but let's jump back down to the weekly, see what's going on here. Weekly's been trading at ATS trend for a while. I'm looking at settling action right here on this expansion level. So you can see we're basically trading between those two levels. If we get a significant breakthrough here, I think we could easily reach for this high. This one's worth looking at. I'm not seeing a whole lot of great setup, but for a longer term opportunity, maybe over the course of the next few weeks, I would not be surprised to see a breakout on this and to hit this high. When you do get a breakout on that, if it does happen, I would manage risk by ATS trend level. If you're not running our software, that is, I'll give you the price on that, is basically 1.08432. So yeah, looks interesting on that level. Not a whole lot on the daily though for trading in the next few days. Aussie USD, definitely going to take a look at that. So Aussie USD is in a pretty consistent downtrend at the moment. Again, not seeing anything that really jumps out at me. If you're going to trade this one, I would just keep staying to the downside and leave it at that. Nothing's popping out on me. CAD franc. Jump over. So this one's traded down, trading back up towards ATS trend. Looks like we barely cracked the low of the cycle right here from this contraction level. Interesting. The fact that we cracked the low of that and they're trading back up through ATS trend, we could get a boost through ATS trend. Let me see if anything looks interesting over here. So here's a basic strategy setup. This is a little interesting, but here's why I don't totally love it. Not to say it won't work. There is some risk management that you could have happen here on the daily. So what I think there's a possible opportunity on CAD Franc right now is that the daily and the weekly are up against ATS trend, and this is kind of a first proximity trade, we would call this. The first time we're touching close to ATS trend. This happens quite a bit, where we'll get a new trend confirmation, we'll come up, mess with the line, and then pull away from it. So this happens quite a bit. This is that first opportunity. We had one that was kind of close here, so actually it's more of a second opportunity. So the question is, are we going to bounce again and go back through? What I do like about this is that we have framework right here. I like the fact that we have this red box here and that we have this center of gravity here. So I would look to potentially, if you want to, it's not a great opportunity, but to short this market with your risk out going to be highly correlated with the ATS trend value over here on the left, which again, if you're not running our software, is 0.66021 roughly, which is basically where I'm holding. You can see if we get basically a few momentum days pushing through roughly about right here, I'd start to be careful. I definitely wouldn't want to go much higher than the order block projection. So let's just go off of that, because that's the framework that we're working with here. Current order block projection, distance away from that is about 68 pips or so. Let's give it a little room. Let's call it 80, getting up through there. I really wouldn't want to trade much into that. So that'd be like kind of your major downside. By that time, we'll be through ATS trend over here on the weekly. Anyway, I'd be careful with that. But looking at what the upside is, if we hold below the order block projection and below ATS trend over the course of the next few weeks, this isn't exactly like a weekly right now opportunity, but over the course of the next few weeks, I think that we could come down and see the liquidity low side of the cycle, which is 114 pips away. So you can see we got a slightly better risk to reward. And if it breaks out hard to the downside, that's where things really start to take off and take shape, and you could potentially knock it out of the park. But we want to make the math work with base hits. Ideally, we'd like to make it work just coming back to value here, which is about 53 pips. So not super good. Depends on how it shapes up, but ultimate risk out, again, would have my stop somewhere up in this neighborhood. Wouldn't want to use it. If it's not going to work out, would like to get clues, but that would be kind of like my worst case scenario if things just get away from you on this type of opportunity. But if we do bounce on the weekly, start heading back down, you could be in line for a monster trade out of this area. So definitely worth keeping an eye on. All right, CAD yen. See if there's anything interesting over there. Looks like we could potentially be getting a breakthrough on the weekly. This one actually is not too bad. So let's pull this over on the daily chart. Put the daily over here. I'm going to look at the 30-minute for more immediate opportunity. So what I do like on this one is that it's starting to have this kind of like slow building momentum up. These things can usually lead to a nice big leap and breakout. And I would say in this case, probably we're looking above these highs. And then if we break out significantly, we have liquidity and order block projection up here that we could potentially hit over the course of the week. It'd be pretty aggressive, but it's a possibility. But I do like this slow building momentum. I like the fact that we have this clue back here. That's good. So what I would do on this, if you're going to trade momentum into the weekly, we could be breaking through the ATS trend on the weekly. If all that works out, it could be in line for an opportunity. I would definitely look to get positioned below this level of framework here, this minor framework box. If we come back through there, you'll get an expansion line through here, and that level will become even more significant. And then basically trading the way I see it, let's put a box over here. Kind of the sweet spot on this, if we do get through there, is about in here. Would like to trade ideally in that range and then back up through. Don't know if that'll happen or not, but if it does come back through there, if it does come back through there, then that would be kind of the sweet spot I'd like to, I would build a position in. Or if we get new framework up in here, at least get under that. The more we establish framework in a trend and it shows that it's building, the better. So, that could also be a possibility for entry if we don't reach back down here. Look for a new box, trade below value because the market's going up. We want to get an undervalued entry, trade below, trade back up through it, and try to catch some momentum coming up through this high and so on. So there's CAD yen. There's an idea. Okay, let's go to franc yen and let's see what's going on here. Interesting, actually, on the daily, this is what we would call kind of a grade A situation setup. From a risk management standpoint, this is pretty good right now. Reason is we have fresh separation on the trend. We see that basically the ATS trend line, what that shows us is it shows us market inefficiencies, not over a 3-candle formula, but it could be 3 candles or it could be a whole group of candles. It looks for an inefficiency and separation in those groups and then marks that level. And that's a start of a new trend that's confirmed. We have that here. Doesn't mean that we can't trade up through that. This market is very whippy, but I would say if we hold in and around this level from a risk management standpoint, we have established cycle down here below on the 30-minute. I like that. If we trade back through, let's just put it this way. Risk management from where we're setting right now, the ATS trend is sitting pretty much, we have order block projection there, pretty much holding in and around this level. If we get much above, I would say, into this level, or especially below, stay below this last level of significant expansion framework, I'd look at that. Anywhere in here is not bad, honestly. Let's see where we're at. So if we go off framework here, that's 41 pips where I would say the idea falls apart. If it holds, we're going to go to at least the low of the cycle, or at least back to value here. So let's go off there. That's 58 pips. So we got better than 1-to-1, just kind of off the basics of if nothing happens, just like it gets, just hits that center of gravity, like nothing, not a great fulfillment at all. We just get back to here. If we get to the low of the cycle where we got the low liquidity, 74 pips, and if we blast through that thing, we'll get, if we don't get another box, we'll get another order block projection based off of the high right here. We go down, that's 82 pips. Let's project down 82 pips. Yeah, so from down there to where we are right now, it's a 160 pip move. Now, in a grade A situation, I talked about this. I put out a video last week. It wasn't very clear. I apologize for that. Zoom cameras suck. But it's there if you could walk through the information. I think is good. A grade A opportunity is the very first time that you get framework and you become overvalued or undervalued in the trend. This is a brand new trend. So I like these opportunities because if these hold, then there's a good chance we're going to get a big deviation away from this framework in that trend. And I'm early. Now, if I'm wrong, well, my risk is just basically right up here. Fine. I might be wrong. A lot of them you will be. Let's say half. No big deal. But the ones that you're right on, again, if I get through this level and get down through, if we're taking the measurements of what the order block will be popped in there, we're going to go at least 100% of the cycle. That's 83 pips from liquidity to the current high. It could change if it goes a little higher. It'll get bigger. So like 80, 82, 83 pips measured down, you're talking about a 160 pip move. That is reasonably likely. We get down through here, might not go immediately, but what you're doing is you're early to a rotation on the daily in a fresh trend. Great spot to be in. This is a good sweet spot right here. And just to make it totally clear, let's go ahead and put a box there. So what I'm basically, wrong chart. Let's go ahead and put a box there with, on the right chart. I'm basically looking in about this sweet spot from where current price is now up to here where I'd get a little bit like, I don't like trading that high above ATS trend. Again, this is the probability on this, let's call it 50-50 because obviously the momentum is to the upside on this market. You could clearly see it on the daily. So you're kind of trading again with the wind in your face a little bit. But what I like about it is just the risk management. We're tight with that line. The line is significant, and we have this established framework. At the very least, I could get a rubber band effect down here for 57 pips, high likelihood. And then when you're 57 pips in the money, you got choices. Most people can't say that on a lot of their trades. They'll wait till it's down here and sell it way below value, and then they'll catch a ride back up in the negative back to value. That's more likely to happen. So we want to get in the money at good price levels so you got choices. So anyway, I like this one, honestly. This is another recommendation that I think you should take a look at. I don't like to get more than about 2 or 3 opportunities tops, because then it just gets confusing. I find too that they look pretty good, and go from there. So I'm going to go through. I think this one is worth looking at, just because of the great risk management, I'm going to leave those two that I've said as the ones I think that you should look at. But let's do a quick glance through some of these majors on the higher time frames. I'm not going to go deeper on them, just for you guys that are doing bigger swing trades, and just so that you guys can see if there's any opportunity on that. So get rid of this. Interesting on this one too, you can see that the weekly starting to rotate. So if that color holds over the course of the rest of the week, you can see we could easily get down through this line and trade down into this bullish institutional level. So anyway, it wouldn't be that hard to fulfill, but if it doesn't, abandon it, no big deal. There's another trade, always another trade. Euro Aussie, let's do a quick run through on these ones. And let me get back over to the daily here. Okay, so this one, I could see that we're on the weekly chart, we're holding ATS trend. This could be a proximity opportunity. Again, risk management based on ATS trend. We could see that we've had a couple of previous weeks that have reacted. So trading this in here, we don't really have great framework on the daily, but if you wanted to, at the minimum, you could control risk on ATS trend line if you're not running our software. Price is 1.66653. If you want to mark that, might be interesting. Again, not super great, and the minimum fulfillment, if you're riding this multiple weeks, which I would, if you're going to trade it, coming up to the top here, you got about a 355 pip upside to the high point, and I would say downside is about 100 pips. EuroCAD. EuroCAD's interesting. We don't have confirmation on a downtrend, but you see how this wick came up and traded through ATS trend right here? That's a bit of a clue. Doesn't mean it can't rip back up through there, but when you start getting below that price level, that's a significant level. It's not an average. It is a very specific price level based on market value. So when we start trading up into it and holding and rejecting, that's a clue that can be a potential new move. So even though we don't have the new ATS trend, you could start to begin to look at this as a downtrend. If that's the case, you could look at prior framework. If it's going to hold, you're at value. I'd be looking at this value level right here. That's the framework that's realistic to work with. Really, the opportunity is, are you going to basically boost through this and trade maybe down to here? That's where I'd be looking at. Maybe a 203 pip opportunity. Risk on this one, really the best you could do is probably go through ATS trend on the weekly, which is basically above this daily high. Not actually too bad. It's up to you. Basically, you're trying to catch momentum through this line, and I'd be calling it quits about right here. So you got risk reward on something like this. Basically, let's call it 120, 30 pips, somewhere in there. Upside, trade back to this center of gravity, 170. Not the greatest, but has a decent basis behind the trade based on this clue back here. I'd say is the strongest indicator. So I'm not going to look at Euro Franc. Let's look at, as I don't want this video to be like a million years long, let's look at Pound Aussie. I know a lot of you guys are partial to Pound Aussie. Okay, similar thing going on here. I see how this wick traded up through ATS trend. That's a clue. We've already pushed. It's already moving away a little bit. Obviously, I'm sure the monthly's long. Let's just look at it real quick. Yeah, monthly's long above. You got the wind in your face a little bit on this, so you could be in big range territory. That is significant. Honestly, I don't like the way this one looks, though. You could get a collapse back to value down here. I'm just curious to see what that looks like. Okay, so that's the weekly coming back pretty much to the last value line on the weekly. You can see it's the same level from right here to back over here as well. So is that going to happen this week? It might. That'd be a pretty significant move down. But it could. We could be at a reversal on the monthly because we're at order block projection. We've snapped some pretty significant highs from back over here. So this could be the turn on the monthly. Do you need to find the turn on the monthly to get a great trade? No. You could just let everything line up, wait for it till you have some decent framework and trade into it. So again, interesting, better opportunities out there. Pound CAD. Similar situation on pound CAD. I don't like it. Next. Let's look at pound franc real quick. Now we're getting through them a little quicker. Pound franc's interesting. I like this. You see how these wicks came up, trade through ATS trend. See how we're starting to settle below value. We got some confluence happening there. You guys look at it. I mean, this right here, does it look reasonable that over the next week or so we could get a little pop down? You know, I mean, this is why we have liquidity down here. This is a low of the cycle based on this low right here. That's our first expansion leg. We're on number 2 right here, but it's traded all the way back down through value. A lot of people are in trouble on this trade. So if you look at this liquidity right here, everyone has their stop losses down that went long right here. They're feeling very uncomfortable. I would say it's pretty likely that we can pop off down to here and trade through there. So down to there is about 132 pips to liquidity. That's if it doesn't snap it hard, which it could lead to a big knock it out of the park moment. But up here it's 74 pips. Decent risk to reward starting off to open. So yeah, I actually don't mind this one too much. I like the fact that these weeks traded up through. I like to see this. When you get traded up through these predominant levels and you get rejection off of them, it's nice to see that. So I like how we traded off that. We're holding, and it looks like it's shaping up to break away. I like that we have framework here too. You can see we're basically trading at value. So if you short the market right now, you're going to be shorting it at least at fair market value on the daily. Better. I would have liked it a little better up here, but at least you're paying fair market value for your short position. So if you get down through minimum fulfillment, would like to get down through liquidity here, and then obviously work towards order block projection down here and that liquidity as well. But yeah, I like this one. This isn't bad for a longer term opportunity. Pound yen. Okay, so on this one, the only thing I see on here is maybe a proximity trade to bounce off ATS trend. We've already had several. This thing's eventually going to roll over. Is this super high quality? I wouldn't think so. Can it pay? Yeah. Do you want to take a simple risk to reward pop? Basically taking the chance that we're not going to trade below ATS trend value and work towards the high. You can, but you already had this one. You've had this one. You've had this one. You've had a lot that have already gone by. I don't care for it personally. Hit order block projection way up here. I think this is it's had its day. It might keep going, but I think you find better opportunities. So for those of you guys that trade gold, I think someone asked in the comments, can you take a look at gold? So sure, let's take a look at gold. I like this actually. Immediately I see the week, what catches my eye. We traded up through the week. We filled this institutional level here, filled that inefficiency, and we're trading back down through. This isn't bad. It's kind of in momentum state right now. You see how we settled on this previous piece of framework and the more recent one from back here. Ideally would have liked to get entry up in here. So if you sell this one, your risk is not the greatest. Like it would have to to really say that it's not what it is. Like you're like 400 and 82 pips like backed up to here realistically. Let me see what, well, no, I take that back. It's not that far. It's really above this level. I wouldn't want to see you trade like basically, much through this bearish institutional level right here. But I do think that the way it's been crawling down, there's a good chance that we're going to see the low right here. The way this is traded through, again, not guaranteed to happen, but the way that it's traded, the fact that trade up through that line and is now showing a wick of rejection through that level, that's pretty significant. And there's 291 coming back through there, and then if we pop off through there, it's okay. Actually, the risk management's, it's whatever on it. This one, you're really planning on catching momentum. I would say through this week into next week, you really don't want to see this thing range out too much. So if it does start to do that, I would maybe be a little careful. But I like this clue. I like that. That's not bad. So those of you guys that are US 30 enthusiasts, I'm going to look at that real quick, and then I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up. All right, so US 30 people, man, you're caught like right in the middle of kind of a wedge situation right now. I see settling on value, that looks good, and I see that we are holding below the new ATS trend. Let me look at the monthly on this one. Monthly's long, it's starting to trek up. I think monthly's probably going to attack this high, would not be surprised. Everybody's trying to short US 30, including Michael Burry. Everyone's short right now. That's the narrative in the market. That's probably why it's going to go long, at least in the near term. I'd stay long on this one. This is one of those situations where I'd be careful what the news tells you to do and scares you into. That monthly is a strong candle, and I would not ignore it. That being said, this one looks primed to push more to the long side over the next few weeks, I would give it. Again, this doesn't have to happen. Always use good risk management. But I can see that this line is not going to hold as strong potentially, is the narrative I would see. And I'd like to see this value point continue to hold and trade above that. So maybe not right this moment, but if you start to see aggressive breakout action on US 30, I think we're definitely going to see this high up here very easily. And then we got liquidity up above there. We got all kinds of places to shoot for. Yeah, I would not be surprised to see this thing trade long, especially with the narrative in the market. So that's it. That's what I got for you guys this week. That's my process. There was a few good recommendations in there. I think that you should take a look at those. But that's how I do. I just go through, look at the higher time frames, and I look for things that have tight risk, that have some sort of catalyst, some sort of bounce off of significant framework. I'm not using moving averages. I'm not using MACDs. I'm not using any of that. I want static framework based on price action, and not only based on any kind of price action, but based off of where market value has been established based on contraction, and then the activity that's happened after that, how we're respecting those value levels. I'm looking for what are the clues I can get in and around those levels, and that's how I bring these picks to you. If you like this format, let me know in the comments. Because I'll do this every week. Honestly, it's a little easier on me just to be like, let me just pull this up and go through them. I don't mind doing it this way. So if you found value from this, let me know, and I'll do it this way from now on. So that being said, you have a great rest of the week. If you like this, remember to like and subscribe. Remember to trade your own plan. Use proper risk management. Do not bet at all on one opportunity. Got to stay in the game because we will be wrong, but I know you do the best you can. So until next week, trade safe.